we build students' belief in themselves? I think there are a few elements. Clearly, you believe in yourself when you are successful, or you see yourself as successful, or others whose opinions you value seem to see you as successful. So we want to feel like we did what we wanted to do and have others notice that. I think we feel that we believe in ourselves when other people are interested in what we have to say, and they show that interest. And I also think that we believe in ourselves more when what we have to say seems a little bit unique, like we really made a contribution that other people might not have made, and we kind of build our own confidence in ourselves. So, our job as teachers is to find ways to make that happen for students. I mean, they obviously play a part in it, but we play a part as well. One of the things that I think we can do to help is to use what I call open ended questions that have a low floor, high ceiling. So, that means that there are many entry points. Lots of kids could kind of get right into it. But there are great extensions that would allow for some of those unique responses that I talked about. I think a role that we play as well is our willingness to look at things from alternative perspectives, maybe a different way than we expected, and are modeling that for our students so that they see that they should do that too. We also need to help other students show their fellow students that they believe in them or are interested in what they have to say or see what they did as valuable. And I think we might have to teach those skills to kids. So we might have to teach them how to, what I'm going to call, visibly listen. How do you show someone else that you're really listening to what they have to say, that you're really interested in what they have to say? And maybe we teach them that you respond to what they say. Maybe you ask them a question about what they did, or maybe you comment on something they said. I also think that we need to find phrases that we can share with students to help them show that they like or find it interesting how someone did something. So maybe we teach them words like, well, I never thought of it that way, or, oh, that's a really interesting way to whatever it is. So I think part of it is our modeling, part of it is teaching other kids to respond to their colleagues. So I thought it would be easy if I use two examples. I'm going to use one at the elementary level, one at the secondary level, to help you kind of see what I mean. So here's a task I might set that I do think has a low floor, high ceiling for elementary. I'm looking to multiply two numbers, so you have to give me two numbers, so that one of the numbers has a 2 in it, one of the numbers has a 3 in it, and the answer, what we call the product, has a 4 in it. So we let students work on that and we give them a little bit of time, and maybe a child says, well, I figured out that I would use 28 times 3 because that's 84. So I might say, oh wow, I never thought of it that particular one. How'd you come up with that one? So I'm trying to show I want to know what you were thinking. I want to know how you came up with that idea. So maybe the child says, well, I know that 8 times 3 is 24. So I had the 3 and I had the 4, but I still needed a 2. But then I realized that really, if I just changed 8 to 28, I would have the 2. So I used 28 times 3. And I might respond, what a great idea. But maybe a different child says something different. So maybe another child just says 8 times 3 is 24. And you're sitting there kind of wondering, what are they thinking? So instead of saying, what are you thinking? I would say, tell me how that works. And the child might say, well, 8 has a 2 in it, since 8 is 2 times 4. And there's a 3 in the 3, and there's a 4 in the 24. And so in your head, you're thinking, so they thought about the 8 having a 2 in it by thinking about factors. They thought about the 3 and the 4 having 3s and 4s in them by looking at digits. So you, instead of being unhappy and saying, but you weren't really consistent, you might say something like, I really like how you use the idea of 8 being a bunch of 2s so that it has a 2 in it. I think that's kind of a cool way to do it. So part of what you're trying to do is to look at things from different viewpoints. If what they said makes sense, but it's a little bit not what you expect, you learn to live with it. And I think that's one of the ways we build confidence. Let me give you a secondary example, and I found this when I was looking for something else, and it's what we call a notice and wonder. So kids look at a picture and respond to it, and that's always a great way to build confidence because you're allowed to say whatever you want. So I'm going to show you my picture. So what you see here is someone, I think these people are in France, making this giant omelet. So I'm going to say to the kids, what do you notice and what do you wonder, and hope that they think of lots of different things. And then I'm going to say, well, here's an interesting problem for you. I read that 15,000 eggs were used to make that omelet. About how big do you think the pan is? Now, one of the things I want you to notice is I didn't say what is the circumference of the pan, what is the diameter of the pan, what is the area of the pan. I said, about how big do you think it is? So I said about, so there's some, I'm going to call it wiggle room. I said how big because area is okay, circumference is okay, diameter is okay. So I'm building success by allowing for more alternatives. So perhaps a student responds like this. This is a response I actually got from someone. It looks like there are about 7 people and they're not that close together. And when I looked around, they weren't really a quarter of the way around. Maybe it was a fifth of the way around the circumference. So that's 7 people. And I was kind of looking at a person, and I think they're kind of like longer than a ruler wide, but not like twice the ruler. So maybe 50 centimeters. So if it was like 7 people making up a fifth, maybe it was like 35, maybe 40 people around the pan. And if they each take up 50 centimeters, that's like 2,000 centimeters for the circumference. But I kind of want to tell you the diameter. And I think you have to divide the circumference by pi to get the diameter, and they do that. So how do I respond? I respond not by saying, well, but you didn't write an equation or whatever it is. I want to be positive. I thought it was a great idea to use the people around the pan to help you. I never would have thought of that. I was thinking a totally different idea. And so what you're trying to tell that student is not only do you think that their thinking was good, but that it was a little bit special as well. So I know that we're being very careful not to overpraise students, and I fully support that. But I also wanted not to deny them the fact that I think they really do have value, that they have thought of unique things, and I want to tell them that I really appreciate that. So I want to build their confidence, I think, by providing tasks that optimize their chances of being successful. I want to respond, and I want to teach my other students to respond by showing interest in what another student does. And I also want to, when it's appropriate, say, I never would have thought of doing it that way. I kind of really like that. That's kind of cool. And so for me, our confidence comes by being surrounded by people who are valuing you and are interested in what you have to say. It's something we as a teacher can do, particularly when we allow ourselves to change perspectives, but it's also something we can teach children to do for their fellow students. Hope this is useful to you. Bye.